Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mitch Taco Bell. I'm your host with Tall Tales with Taco. Tonight is going to be an incredible night. You see, part of the advantages of volunteering at different events is a chance to meet the most incredible people. And in this case of 12 years of volunteering with SkyBall, I have to say that I've met the gamut. I mean, from Medal of Honor recipients to guests like who we're going to have on tonight. Colonel Greg Gadson is United States Army Colonel, retired, wounded in May of 2007 over in Iraq, and probably one of the most inspirational folks you'll ever get a chance to meet. And if you go back and you look on YouTube and listen to some of his talks, just incredible, inspirational guy. I can't say enough. You know, they talk about the mettle of a man and how it's tested. And they say to fall down is to face the weakness of my humanity, test the mettle of my character, and push my limits and find my strengths. Well, that is Greg to a T. And folks, without further ado, I'd like to bring on Colonel Greg Gadson. How are you, sir?
Well, good evening, Mitch, and Mitch, or should I call you Taco tonight?
You call me Taco. Just don't call me late for dinner, as
Yeah, I love that
my
line
friends will say
from
now.
Fletch. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for having me here. Thank you for what you're doing to enlighten and share and inspire. And it's a privilege to be here tonight.
Yeah, but I mean, so I was over in Iraq in 2005 to 2006 at Al Taqaddum, and the amount of damage that I saw done to our guys was just astronomical in terms of triangle of death. They always called it. You were over there in off of Jackson there by Baghdad,
Yep.
and we were off MSR, Michigan. Um, I mean, it wasn't. I could not write about this stuff because I didn't want to give any um, ammo for the bad guys to publicize about our losses. But it was almost like 1 to 3 guys every few days. It seemed like we had a lot of Army on our base. We had a lot of Marines that were taking hits along Michigan. And the worst part of it was when the Army extended the tours of these units. And all of a sudden, these guys were now looking at, I think, 15 months in
Yep. I was
country.
yep. My unit was there on my brigade. My battalion was there on a 15-month deployment. Yep.
That was the worst thing the Army, I looking back, could ever have done, because you literally saw the morale of the troops drop. Like, I thought I was going home. I thought I was done with this. And I think because of that, a lot of guys lost focus when they left the wire, unfortunately. That was a bad time. And you went in into the plus up into the surge,
Yep.
but we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. I want to go back. You and I are the same age. We both grew up down in Little Creek Tidewater area.
Yep.
I spent the majority of my life down there. My uncle was an F-14 Rio with the Pukin dogs. And where did you grow up? You were in.
I was in Chesapeake, Virginia, in Indian River in the Greenbrier area. So, what high school did you go to?
I would have gone to Cox. I ended up going
Cox.
to a school up in Virginia called Blue
Okay,
Ridge.
yeah. So Cox, and so I was, yep. I went to Indian River High School,
Yeah,
and I can remember wrestling Cox when I was in high school.
heavyweight.
I was 167 and 176. So
Oh, no way.
yeah,
Dude, I was 145 my senior year. I was always sucking down to 138 because the 145 guy would kick my butt, you
yeah,
know. And when we did the wrestle offs, 167 guy was just an animal.
yeah.
Oh, dude. So you get recruited. You were looking at going into the Navy, right? Because you wanted to be a naval
Well,
aviator.
actually, what happened was I had gotten recruited by UVA first, and I thought that's where I was going to go. They had verbally committed to me, and so I thought I was going there. That was where I wanted to go. And
Great school.
at the last second, they changed their mind, and they said, look, we have some more needs that we need to address first. And so they wanted me to walk on. And Mitch, I was devastated. And so a West Point recruiter came to my high school to recruit another gentleman. And my coach said, well, why don't you take a look at this guy being me. So I never heard of West Point, went up to West Point. I said, you guys play Division I football? They're like, yep. And I'm like, sign me up. So to Tom O'Brien's credit, who was at the time on George Welch's coaching staff, who was from Navy, when I told him, he kept checking on me because he really wanted me to come on as a walk-on. I told him I was going to Army, and he says, well, have you considered Navy? And I'm like, I never heard from him. And within a day or two, I get a call, sight unseen, from Navy saying, come to Navy. You're in.
Of course.
And Tom O'Brien, oh, by the way, was a Naval Academy graduate. So he was looking out for his alma mater if he couldn't look out for us. So I went to my dad, and I talked to my dad about changing to go to Navy. And he said,
now, was he military?
No. He was a pharmacist, went to Howard University. And my dad said, you gave your word to West Point. That's where you're going. So so there was no more discussing. So 30 years later, it was, that was
but what an what an honor. I mean, either college is prestigious, pretty outstanding to be able, and especially to be playing football for those guys.
Right.
And, your coach, I'm sure your coach was kind of like Coach Evans, my wrestling coach. We were on Lombardi time. So
if you're on
you had
time,
to be
you're late. If you're late, you're on. If you're early, you're on time.
yeah, you better be dressed, warmed up, stretched, and ready to go at go time, not coming out here prancing around. If you did, you're doing sprints or you were getting screwed left and right. You guys had a great quote. Was this up on the wall?
Absolutely. Very good. Yeah. That's the sign that we touched before we left the locker room every single time that I played for 4 years.
Nice.
And I don't know if you're aware of the story, but eventually after Coach Young left, and I think after Coach Sutton left, the tradition, went in the trash can. And so the sign got put away. And I had a classmate and one of the managers from the team bring me that sign when I was in the hospital after I got wounded.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I kept it for a few years, and then I returned it back to the team.
Did they put it back up?
Yep.
Good.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good on them. That's an outstanding legacy right there. So when you got out, I mean, let's see. So you got commissioned in 89. I was 88. You got to hit all the stuff. Unlike me sitting in flight school watching CNN going, your friends calling you up going, hey, what do you think is going to happen next? I'm like, well, I had dinner with President Bush the other night, told me not to talk about it, but, you got to go over. So what were some kind of experiences you had as a young, by that time you were first lieutenant probably, right?
No, I was still a butterbuyer. I was a second lieutenant during the first Gulf War. I was a platoon leader that we were part of the 7th Corps, part of the attack in Desert Storm, and so some huge lessons there. I had one of my squad leaders get wounded, and we put a lot of steel downrange as a platoon leader, and I would say you probably you prepare yourself for the ultimate test, the ultimate potentially sacrifice. And I think very early on to me, there was a part of I guess you would say excitement or just
untouchable. We were
pumped up
invincible.
about the first conflict. And
Yeah.
I tell you, Mitch, after experiencing that, I literally came away with, there is no sadder thing that mankind can do than to go to war. And but I also learned a valuable lesson that I've got to make sure that these men and women under me are prepared. And I almost got caught short. And I sort of made a promise that I would never let that happen again. So
what happened?
Well, as I said, one of my section chiefs, Sergeant True, got wounded. And in my most honest and brutal assessment, we weren't prepared to take care of him. We eventually got him evac'd, and he didn't lose any limbs or anything, but we were not trained to what I felt we should have been. And I was a platoon leader, and that was my responsibility. And I just said I would never let that happen again. And that's 1991. So 16 years later, I'm a battalion commander, and that promise ended up that promise saved my life.
Right. Yeah. So is it the Queen of Battle or King of Battle?
King.
Yeah. I'm just pulling your leg.
I know.
My boss was
always say it's better to give than to receive. So
my boss was artillery guy, Pat Ridman, and Queen of Battle? No, that's infantry, Queen of Battle.
That's right.
We're the King of Battle. What's funny is we got rid of all of artillery. Marine Corps did. I bet you guys have it now. I bet it's up in Oklahoma.
No, I don't think the Marines don't have art. I thought you got rid of your tanks.
Yeah, we got rid of tanks and artillery. So,
you're kidding me.
No, so all we have is HIMARS, which, I mean, what does that cost? $26,000 a shot?
No, HIMARS is artillery. It's an artillery system, but you guys have no cannon artillery?
No, we got rid of it all.
Oh, my
Yeah, the Commandant's my Oso. He was my recruiter, but there's definitely a lot of things going on that makes people go,
wow.
Make us lighter.
I know the Vice Commandant, Eric Smith.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were in Leavenworth together. We sat next to each other at Fort Leavenworth for a year.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So you still send him an email and go, hey, just wonder what gives?
I didn't. Last time I saw him, if I'd known, I would have asked him, what's the deal with the artillery?
Yeah, no kidding. So you're trading. What would you say was your biggest lesson learned that you took into when we went to would you go Afghanistan first or Iraq first?
Afghanistan first.
So totally night and day in terms of the people and the AO. What was your biggest takeaway from your first visit to Afghanistan? It was kind of the forgotten war, wasn't it, when you were over there?
Yeah, when I got there, it was 2004 to 2005, and so it was very austere. Some people felt it wasn't dangerous, and I'm like, no, we just don't have enough people over here to bump into them. So, what I learned was you need to respect the enemy, and power is not absolute. You're in someone's backyard, and they know it better than you.
Yeah.
And so, we're modern equipped and got all this intel and all this kind of stuff, but those guys are hardy, and they just wave goodbye to another superpower. And so, there's limits to power. You know what? The Russians are finding that out.
Yeah.
Bullets don't kill will. And again, the world and people are learning that there are limits to power. It's not absolute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think they've taken. I mean, we could have a whole discussion about Ukraine, Russia. Those guys have definitely taken on a modern Afghanistan for them because every swinging dick out there's got an AK-47 and is ready to take a shot at
Yeah.
somebody.
What's their? It's their life. I mean, could you? I mean, can you imagine? How everybody's talking about negotiating. How do you negotiate? Are you going? Well, you just uh, leveled my country, and it's all good. Just go home and have a
Yeah.
nice day. I mean, what? You know,
Yeah.
what's the? I don't know. I can't even imagine what the right answer looks like.
No. And I certainly don't want to be over there. And, I was reading an article about 20,000 foreign fighters going over there. A lot of Americans, a lot of Europeans going over there to go fight. But I don't want to see any of our guys over there in that mess. I really
Yeah.
don't.
Well,
Because
they're pulling in. The Russians are pulling in Syrians and Chechens.
yeah, yeah, not even not even good.
No.
So you went Afghanistan, then you went over to Iraq. Well,
Right.
actually, you got back from Afghanistan. I heard the story. You were back in Hawaii. You're on vacation working on your tan, and and they freaking call you. What two-star general calls you up and says, "Hey,
Yeah.
Lieutenant Colonel Gadson, guess what? Well, we're gonna ship your happy butt off to Kansas, and then you're going back to war." Like,
Yeah, you're coming to Fort Riley. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, what a bummer. I just left Afghanistan and sent me to Kansas. So I was like, I must have pissed some people off.
yeah, your wife's like, you know what? Hey, when that tour is over, come back and get me. I'm gonna hang
Yeah.
out in Hawaii for a while.
Yeah.
All my friends love it over there. So you take off, you get your guys trained. There's a great story about your medic that saved your life.
Right.
Brown, right? Private Brown.
Private Eric Brown.
Yeah, man. Tell that story because I heard it once a long time ago, and I just love it.
Yeah. So we're a few weeks out from deploying, and the medic that I had initially, we've been working with, and for my PSD, my personal security attachment, he broke his ankle
Hmm.
doing some physical training, and so we asked the Army for another medic, and they're like, you asked for it and you shall receive. But no, they didn't have one. And
Uh-huh.
again, the context of all this is that we're the second of the 5 surge brigades that George Bush sent over, and so um, you know everything is in short supply. And so my headquarters first sergeant sent Private Brown to a 2-week EMT or emergency medical course at Kansas State University, just outside of Fort Riley in Manhattan, Kansas.
Sure.
And so Brown would finish this course literally days before we were going to deploy, and my folks came to me with the suggestion of putting Private Brown in one of my subordinate platoons, and bringing up an MOS medic for my PSD, and I said no, on 2 bases. First of all, as we all were preparing, I didn't want to disrupt a key member of one of my platoons, at the last minute,
Hmm.
if I didn't have to. And I think more personally for me, I felt that if this young man was good enough for my soldiers, then he was good enough for me. And I would, if there was any risk to take, I was going to take it. And lo and behold, he's the young man that saved my life.
I gotta say, but that's leadership 101. You're taking care of your guys. You entrusted this guy with a last minute, very intense course, and you got to bring it all to the table, man, because you're heading over in just days. That's amazing amount of confidence that you put into Brown. That's
Yep.
awesome. And you got to promote him later on, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. So he went back to being a chemical soldier.
Uh-huh.
He was eventually got stationed up at Edgewood,
I don't know where that is.
outside of Aberdeen.
Oh, okay. Proving grounds,
Um,
right?
Yeah, outside of Aberdeen Proving Ground. You know, they what do you call that? All that chemical. Well, they have the chemical stuff up there, but
NBC
yeah,
stuff.
but I got to promote him from specialist to sergeant there, and then
Oh,
I got a chance to go to his wedding as
uh-huh.
well as his college graduation from Washington State. So.
Oh, is he on the dark side now? Is he an officer?
No. He's yeah, no, he's out of the army now.
You
He's
didn't do
out.
the
Yeah,
force on him? Come on,
yeah,
come to the dark side. Be
yeah,
an officer.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. What's he doing now?
He is. I know he had a degree in botany.
Mhm.
His wife's a school teacher. I don't know. I think he was involved in something with forestry.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, if you're listening there, Sergeant Brown, hey, big hats off to you because that's huge what you did. So your Alive Day on May, do I asked a friend of mine, Chuck Ziegenfuss, who was a tanker and got blown up in Iraq. Today we were talking about the stuff, and I was thinking about questions for you. Hard stuff to ask, but do you mind going into your Alive Day?
No, I don't. And so, as I said, Private Brown, the doctors give him credit for saving my life. It's not just me, because there's very little that I remember him doing. I can't tell you I remember him putting the tourniquets on my legs, because I absolutely don't. But the doctors say that that he put the tourniquets on my legs so well that it did keep me from bleeding out. Now, just to sort of put this in perspective, I went through 129 pints of blood that night. I died 6 times. I went into arrest 6 times and went through
Oh,
129 pints of blood.
holy
Um,
cow!
so that was, I tell you that because I didn't do anything special, but that was the severity of my injuries.
Yeah.
And like you were saying in the very beginning, you know how many service members were killed in May of 2007? 131.
Wow.
That was the environment that we were dealing with in during the surge. It was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got I could imagine you get blown up. I went down to Bamsey and I one Christmas and I got gift cards because I asked, what could I buy, raise money and give to the guys? They said, go get gift cards from Walmart and hand them out to all the soldiers and the Marines and let their parents go pick up whatever they want or need for their son. I said, okay. So I raised like $5,000, went out and got all these gift cards, put on my dress blues. I'm on a layover in San Antonio, and this is December of 2006. And they put me in the full dress gowns with the booties. And I got to go see a guy laying on a rubber mat who had just gotten in from Iraq. And at the end of the tour, I was with a Marine lieutenant who was leaving and still had the compression deals on his arms and from the burns. But one thing that stuck out in his mind that he said stuck out in my mind was he goes, sir, all I remember was the explosion and me laying on my back, looking up, going, I am going to frigging die in this shithole country. And that was it. I'm done. And blacked out. And he goes, there were moments like a dream. And then I remember that was it. Next thing I know, I'm laying on this rubber mattress in Bamsey, going through the burn unit and all the painful stuff that entailed. But
Right.
is it kind of similar for you? Did you have that? Oh shit!
Yeah. So when the ID hit, I remember it blowing me. So it blew me out of the vehicle, and I remember flying through
Wow.
the air. And so this was the second time my vehicle been hit by an ID. The first time it didn't hurt me or anyone in the vehicle, but I knew what it. So this time I knew what it was. The first time I wasn't sure.
Uh huh.
So I knew it was an IED. I knew I was and Taco for a brief second. It's like a slow motion event. I mean, I really feel like, first of all, I'm flying through the air and and can I curse? I'm fucking pissed.
Yes.
I'm like, son of a bitch, you know, how dare these I was like, how dare these motherfuckers? Because I'm out here trying to make a difference, and they're fucking trying to kill me. I was literally mad, and I hit the ground and I rolled a couple of times before I stopped on my back, and then I immediately, and then I don't want to make this like Hollywood, but I think that Steven Spielberg in Saving Private Ryan has done the best job of just sort of, there's a couple times when the scenes
slow down,
move really slow.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're able to sort of process time in a different way. He did an amazing job of doing that, because that's what sort of happened. And then, so it was sort of this slow motion event. And then I come to a stop on my back, and I go from anger and being pissed to I'm fucked. I can't get up, and I said, God, I don't want to die here. And then that was it. I was out black.
Wow.
And so my senior non-commissioned officer, First Sergeant Frederick Johnson, he was actually my acting command sergeant major, because my sergeant major was on emergency leave. Mm-hmm. He was in the vehicle behind me, and so he was the first to get to my vehicle when it finally came to a stop. And so the guys in my truck didn't even know I was missing. And he was the one that said, he says, where the fuck's the colonel? And then one of my company commanders had been sitting behind me. He goes, and that's when he said, Brad Bandy said, that's when it clicked that I got blown out of the vehicle. And so First Sergeant Johnson found me about a football field from where my vehicle came to a stop. This is at 9:30 at night, so it's not like.
Did they follow it up with any secondary attack or anything like that? Small arms?
No. We
just IED.
We got into a defensive posture pretty quick, and then the QRF, because I had just left Falcon. I mean, I was maybe a click or two outside of Falcon. So the QRF was on top of us pretty quick. 128 Black Lions were, and so First Sergeant Johnson finds me, and he's the one he started resuscitating me, and that's when Private Brown got the tourniquets on my legs. Now, First Sergeant Johnson says that I punched them 3 times. He goes, I punched him in the face 3 times. I don't remember that. I remember him really close to my face, and I remember, now I'm confused, like, why are you so close to me? And then so I realize I'm hurt, and there's chaos and all that kind of stuff, and they're trying to get me in a vehicle so they can get me back to Falcon. And I'm so slippery with blood, they can't hardly get a grip on me. So they got to take a bunch of my gear off. And as they get me in the vehicle, I basically see my left foot kind of on my stomach. And then that's when I realized that something was that my legs, and I'm like, I can't feel my legs. And I started to panic, I guess. And so Brown not only put the tourniquets on my legs, he had them on me by that time. I don't know that, but I'm in the vehicle and my head is lying in his lap as they're taking me back to the Falcon.
Did not endorphins, the shock, and was the pain numbed out?
Well,
did you have immediate pain or?
I've actually been able to talk with a couple of the doctors and nurses that were triaging me, and they said I was in an extraordinary amount of pain. I mean, screaming, but I have no recollection of it. I have zero recollection of the pain. And I think that has a lot to do with some of the meds they give us, but I can't recall any of the pain.
So they got you on a helicopter. Our normal deal would be get you on a 46 or a 60 up to Balad, and then Balad onto a C-17.
So I went to the cache first.
Oh, did you?
So Mitch, the last memory I have in Iraq was hearing the Black Hawk coming in to get me. I could hear it coming in the land, and I was talking to my brigade commander who was there, and I will say this. Not that I gave up, but I wasn't sure I was going to make it back. And I told my boss that, please make sure that Kim and my kids know I love them. I just didn't know if I was going to make it back.
Yeah.
So that's my last memory of Iraq.
Wow.
That is, I went to, you want to talk about irony. The man that operated on me was a 91 grad.
Was he really?
Yeah, who recognized me as a football player.
Oh man, that's
and
awesome.
Then, so I went from the cash in the green zone to Balad the long stool, and then Andrews, the Walter Reed.
And you also, one of your classmates jumped on with you and escorted you.
So no, one of my football teammates who was a year behind me flew with me all the way from the cash all the way to Germany. That was as far as he would let me go. So he was class of 90. Oh. And then my classmate, class of 89, met me at Walter Reed, and he was the first to hear me speak when I came out of my coma.
Yeah. Wow. Man, I tell you what, that's brotherhood right there.
Yeah. And then the doctor in charge of my rehab was another teammate, class of 87, Dr. Paul Pasquina. So yeah, the stars lined up there. Yep.
Yeah. Take care of me, brother, man. I'm on the hook. It's funny. We had a guy named Colonel Ebert who was our TBS CO who only had one lung. He got hit by a 51 caliber North Vietnamese guy, hit him with a 51. And so he gets medevaced out and he's laying there and the triage goes, yeah, this guy's gone. And one of his TBS classmates walks by and sees him laying on the stretcher and says, Doc, you can operate on this guy. And he goes, nah, he's too far gone. He goes, no, that's a classmate of mine from TBS. Greatest guy in the world. You will give it your go. No, I'm not going to do it. You're going to do it. And the doc's like, okay, get him in there. And he survived. And this son of a bitch would run a 17-minute 3 mile. And he always had a smile on his face. He'd stand up in front of you, in inspection. He'd just like, hey, Lieutenant, how are you doing? And you couldn't help but lose your bearings, start cracking a smile. But he was just always the happiest guy because he was alive.
I think that's part of it's a different level of appreciation for life. And until you've kind of been on that edge, I mean, I don't recommend anybody doing it, but I'm telling you, it leaves a lasting impression.
Yeah, it did. So until your wife and family could get to you, did you lay there at night? Did it get pretty dark?
Well, no. So they were there. When I got to Walter Reed, I was in an induced coma. So they were already. Oh. They were already. My wife was. My wife got there the same day I got there, but I don't. That's awesome. But it was. It had to have been maybe 5 to 7 days before I was able to communicate with her. I was very disoriented. I'm telling this sort of anecdotally and secondhandedly because I can only depend on memories of people that that were with me. They were concerned very early on that I had some severe TBI because I was all over the map. I mean, they'd ask me where I was, and it was never the right place.
I'm up Stewart, New York, partying.
Right. In fact, when they bought my daughter in the first time, I didn't recognize her, and that was pretty traumatic for her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I know that you're on the board with the Gary Sinise Foundation,
Right.
and you and I would have been mid-level captains back when that came out in '94, July of '94. You, I remember watching, his portrayal of Lieutenant Dan having his
Right.
legs
Yeah.
blown
Yeah.
off.
Look. Yeah. Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the first time I think it was a USO gala event that I was at, and Gary was there, and and I roll up to him. I recognize him, and the first thing out of my mouth was, "I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dan," and he just like looks at me like, "What is wrong with this guy?" So that was the beginning of our friendship.
I love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Because I mean, it truly is. You watch him go through the event, through the dark periods in his life,
yeah,
to redemption, to God, to getting married to a Vietnamese girl, and he's got his legs back.
yeah,
So, I asked Chuck today. He had his arm blown off, and it was, I can't remember, 47 surgeries or something to reattach his arm. So here's his arm. He goes, I can't even type, and he goes, what am I going to be, a staff puke who can't type? I mean, that's what am I going to do? Am I going to get out? I don't want to get out. And he stayed in. He managed to get rehabilitated and get it to work to a certain degree, and he stayed in. Now he does raises dogs, beautiful Labradors for
uh-huh,
service animals. So
right.
very very neat guy. If you ever make it back down here to Texas, I promise I'll take you out for a beer, and we'll get hooked up with Chuck Ziegenfuss because he's a god in my eyes. I love that guy.
Awesome.
He's a guy that goes back to Afghanistan. He's on the fob, and every day he goes in there and he sets the clock, the master clock for the call to prayer. He sets the clock ahead like a minute every day, so the call of prayer goes earlier and earlier. And so the guys are out there doing their deal, and all of a sudden the sirens go off out in town with the call to prayer. I mean, he was a prankster, but you got to have a good attitude, right? You're alive.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so when you got out and you're going through your rehab, I'm looking for. I've got and it's not a very good picture, but you get called up to do this movie,
Right.
Battleship, by Peter Berg called you up.
Yep.
How was that? Was that kind of like one of those crank call, hang up?
No,
What
well,
happened?
no, it was sort of set up. So I was doing my War College fellowship. So let me go before that. So the reason why Peter Berg was interested in me was really, he's a New Yorker. His father is a former Marine,
Oh, I didn't
and
know that.
and he's incredibly patriotic, and he is a New York Giants fan, and so by virtue of my relationship with what happened with the New York Giants, and
Yeah. Oh, that is amazing. Tell
right.
tell people
So
people don't know that story.
I'll finish
Yeah.
the. So he asked me to be in the movie, and so what happened was again I was doing my War College fellowship at the Institute of World Politics in D.C. And so this Navy lieutenant calls me up at my house one day, or in my house or my cell phone or whatever, and she says, she didn't know Pete was gonna. She thought Pete wanted some technical expertise for the movie, and so that's
Right.
why she was calling if I'd be willing to talk with him. I said, yeah. So she arranged a call, and so when I got the call, and he says, "Hey, man, I'd like you to be in my movie," and I was like, "Sure, why not?" And I mean, I didn't give it a. I was like, at this point in my life, Mitch, this sort of breath about understanding and living life is, what do I got to lose? I mean,
Right.
and so I'm like Mikey, I'll try anything.
Right.
So I agreed to do the movie. Now, again, the West Point connection has been a strong theme. In the '07, the year 4 months after I'm wounded, in September of '07, a West Point classmate and teammate who was a coach in the New York Giants asked me to speak to the Giants, who started out 0-2. and and
Ooh.
I shared what I'd been through with them, 15 or 20 minutes, and you know, they give me way too much credit for helping turn their season around, but ultimately I would also give the team speech the night before they played the undefeated Patriots, and and so I have 2 Super Bowl rings as well. So
That is so awesome, man.
yes, sir.
Does it go off when you go through the metal detector, or
I
you got
don't
them in a
travel
little
with those
box in
things.
the
They're
safety
so big
deposit
and
box?
bulky. They're like, I mean, you could put them around your wrist practically.
Right.
So,
So do you still have sideline passes whenever you want to go to a Giants game?
well, yes and no. The sideline, you know, COVID has really changed
No,
sideline
COVID's gone.
access.
Since Russians attacked, COVID doesn't exist anymore. Haven't you
Yeah,
heard? Come on. We don't,
yeah, yeah,
I don't have to put my mask on anymore, wear
yeah.
my face diaper anymore.
Well, look, I'm down here at Fort Gordon, Georgia, and I wore that sucker on the airplane. So I guess we got to wear them until right now it's the 18th of April. So
Oh God, it can't come soon enough. I'm telling you, as an airline guy, I guarantee you the biggest percentage of our problems is people suffocating with a face diaper. And I have this because I had to take my parents to the ER the other night. So I had, had it
yeah,
stuffed in here because I had to wear
it's
it.
standard. It's standard issue. I mean, you just don't.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. But all right, so COVID, when that ends, you gonna be able to take Kim and go back and hang out on the sidelines?
We'll see. I mean, that's really going to be. It's up to the league. You know, they changed the number of people that are authorized to be on the sidelines, and so
Uh-huh.
you know,
Oh,
we'll see if they modify that. You know, so
well, how was it? How was it going over to Honolulu? I'm sure your wife loved that you guys got to go back um, for the movie. How was it? How long were you into the production of this thing?
so my set time was about 2 months of total time, but it wasn't all contiguous. I was so ironically about the time I started filming the movie was the time that I went back to work full time. And so my
Mhm.
first job was the director of the Army's Wounded Warrior program. So kind of like the Marine Corps regiment.
Yep, Wounded Warrior Regiment.
So that equivalent. So that was my, and so I was having to take leave to go film. Uh, I had 2 options. They would let me do a permissive TDY, but
Hmm.
then they couldn't pay me, or I could take personal leave and then they could pay me. So I took personal leave. So
Ah, good, good. Yeah, I
yeah,
bet SAG rates pay a little bit more than per diem, right?
yeah, yeah,
And plus, they're going to put you up in a hotel, take
yeah,
care of your airfare. I hope they
yeah,
gave you first class on American.
yeah.
Damn it.
No, well, I did fly first. I think I was on United though. I was flying out of Dulles. No, I
Oh,
was flying out of Reagan through Chicago to Honolulu.
gotcha. So, what was the most? I mean, Hollywood to me always has that. I wanted to be a pilot. If I couldn't be a pilot, I was going to be a school teacher, and my dream shot was to go to Hollywood and be a stormtrooper. That's I wanted to wear I love the costume. Love
Yeah,
Star
yeah.
Wars.
I'm with you, man. I'm a total
I just
Star Wars geek. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a stormtrooper right over here to the other side of my mannequin. As a matter of fact, I got Freddie Joe Farnsworth. Um, hey, bro, hero. Freddie Joe Farnsworth did all of the work with Dale Dye on Band of Brothers in the Pacific, and Freddie Joe is out in former Marine out in Hollywood now, so he gets it. He's out there all the time. It's a job. But to us novices, and I'm sure you were kind of in the same boat, like, wow, this is actually kind of cool how they do this, the green screen and
Yeah, no, it's a you know what? The professionalism and the work on a Hollywood set is very indicative to what we do in the military. I mean, you think about in fact, I spent a couple of weeks, believe it or not, on a carrier. I was out on the Ike for 2 weeks
no way.
back in the mid '90s,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was in L&O. That was my other F-14 story. I tried to get the L&Os.
Yeah,
I was doing they were doing recce at the time,
yeah.
and so I came from Fort Bragg. I was in the 82nd then, And I go, so I pointed at this spot on the map. I go, this is where I want you guys to get pictures of this place here. And so they come back and they're like, they wouldn't let us get close to it. I didn't tell them I knew it was a Delta compound. and I understood exactly why they couldn't get pictures of it. So I tried, though. I tried.
Did you ever try to wrangle yourself in the back seat of an F-14? Get a ride?
No, I wish I did. I had a sailor, though. He was actually a former soldier, and he had been in the 82nd, so he recognized my patch, and so he said, meet me out here about 1 o'clock tonight. I'll come get you. And so I'm on the deck, right in between them launching those birds off, man. Look, cool. I'm telling you, I got that experience on the Ike, in those is one of my top 5 military experiences. So.
Well, man, if they could figure out a way to get you into the ejection seat and go for a ride, I bet you that would be.
Well, I've done tandems. I don't know why I can't, come down out of a, from an ejection seat. You just pull
damn Skippy. Yeah. Hey, man, just extra padding and here we go. Oh man. So what was the coolest thing when you were filming out there? I was watching some YouTube videos. And they had the guy, not green screen, but they had the guy with little dots where they could.
Right. Yeah. Because so we didn't know what those were dots that they would ultimately, once they decided on what the alien was going to look like, that's how they would attach it to. That's why it was like a natural human. And so, so I don't know if you've seen the video where they eventually figure out how they put me on a dolly, and that's how I actually fought the alien.
Right. So you're punching.
But that was a process of trial and error. We had tried. That was the third try of first they tried to suspend me from like this with the strap. And then they tried to build this sort of platform on the ground that I would just stay fixed to, and that didn't work. And someone came up. Well, one of the stuntmen came up with it. So they're just the grips, just incredibly ingenious, and great ingenuity, I guess is the right way to say it. At solving problems. And
so did you have to pull any punches, or was the guy quick enough to?
I actually hit the stunt man a couple of times by accident. I mean, that was my first time, throwing stunt punches, and they're kind of real punches. You just gotta make sure you don't make contact with the guy. And I remember the stunt man that was playing the alien I was fighting. His name was Bubba. I kid you not, it's Bubba. And I hit him the second time I hit him in the nose. He started crying. He's like, really polite, sir, please don't do that again. Oh, I feel like crap, that I hit the guy. So.
Well, you did a good job. You came across as you came across as a guy that had just gotten back. I mean, all those emotions, you didn't have to act, did you? I mean, all the emotions that you had.
No, Mitch, I would say I was totally acting. It is. Did I have an appreciation for the character? For sure. What I would say, what I personally feel like I brought to the role was all those service members that were in there rehabbing with me. Yeah. I mean, there was a little bit of them and me in acting. That is 100% acting. Could I empathize with the character? Certainly, but I wasn't playing myself.
Right. Well, you did a great job, man. You really did. And talk about some of the charity stuff that you're doing for Wounded Warriors, and what can we do to help anybody out there support?
Well, a big part of my personal mission in life is I say giving back or paying it forward. Look, what you're doing, we're continuing to serve. We've taken the uniform off, but we're continuing to serve. We're continuing to give back.
Yeah.
And I think it's my personal obligation to be able to do that, because we've got to inspire the next generation. It's not a question if it's just a matter of when they're going to be asked to defend our great country. And so we've got to make sure that we have a nation that's prepared to support them. And so part of my personal mission statement is that that's where part of my time is going to go. So I've been fortunate to work in it, whether it's in a board member or advisory committee or ambassador for, as you mentioned earlier, the Gary Sinise Foundation. I'm a board member. The Veiled Veterans Program. Mine and my family's first visit from Walter Reed was to Vail, Colorado, to the Veiled Veterans Program, and it changed my life. 3 months after losing my legs, it helped it helped me begin to see where I needed to go. And then a couple other organizations I'd like to mention: Hope for the Warriors. And the Code of Support. Like I said, you see me there with the SkyBall and the Patriot Project. The Patriot Project, for example, I guest spoke at their gala last November in Canton, Ohio. They are a network of chiropractors that provide free chiropractic support to our wounded warriors.
No kidding. Oh, that's awesome.
Yep. And so the best weekend ever run out of Dayton, Ohio. There's this, I mentioned before that I'm, personally involved, but I mentioned others that I'm actively involved in helping them make a difference. And so it keeps me busy.
Yeah, it does. Where are you right now? You're on the road right now.
Yeah, I'm in Augusta, Georgia, in a hotel room. I have a meeting at Fort Gordon tomorrow, and then I'll fly back home.
Now, where do you live? Are you up in DC area still?
Yeah. I'm in right outside of Fort Belvoir in Alexandria. I live in Mount Vernon. I live 1 mile down the street from George Washington's house.
No kidding.
Yep.
You know what? I fly over your house all the time. Well, actually, I fly right to the outside
that southern approach right up the Potomac River. Yeah, I see. I can, when the traffic pattern is full, you go further down the river. When it's short, you fly right over the neighborhoods.
Yeah, they bring us right over there, and then we have to avoid Mount Vernon itself, but we come around and we pick up the localizer.
Yeah, I've seen my house before from the plane. If I'm on the left side of the plane, I can as a window seat. Yeah.
God, man, that's awesome. Well, I grew up in Arlington, right up the street. So when you go home, do me a favor, it's probably a 45-minute drive for you, but if you make it up to North Arlington to Washington Boulevard, there's a little place called Lost Dog Cafe, and they have the best pizza, the best beer, subs. It's been around since I was in high school.
I think is it in Clarendon?
No, Westover Village, where the original Lebanese taberna started, the restaurant. I went to school with Abby Najm's. They came in like junior high when we were up there, and so great place. Love that. I miss the old days of going down to Old Town Alexandria to Ireland's Own Lad and sitting there singing with all those guys. Hey, I was going to show something here. Let's see. Kevin was Air Force. And
Kevin Lombardo. I know Kevin. He is I don't know where he's at, but he invited me out to the Air Force Base in Montana, Maelstrom Air Force Base up in Montana to speak with the airmen up there.
Oh, that's cool. Was it in the wintertime?
It was the wintertime.
Freddie says, Tim Siritz is a stuntman, aka Bubba. And Buns Watson. Yeah, Buns Watson. All right, motion capture. That's what we were talking about. All the little dots
Yeah,
that were on the
yeah.
guy.
How about
And
that?
yeah, let's see. Another thing Austin wrote: auditory exclusion. The matrix effects are real and weird.
So
Yeah.
I'm actually at the end of a movie called A Journal for Jordan. It just came out in December. I'm in the last scene. I'm in one of the last scenes of that. It's a
Oh,
scene.
really?
Yeah, Denzel Washington directed that, so I got a
Oh,
chance.
man. How
Yeah.
was it hanging out with Denzel? He's
Oh,
like
he's
pro
amazing.
military
He's a
dude.
fun guy. Those guys are good. I have not run into a jerk out in Hollywood yet.
Can you get Denzel? Can you get him on the show for me?
Well, I
Hey,
don't know
Mr.
about that.
Washington, come hang out with Taco Bell just for Tuesday evening. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, yeah, that guy's no Joe Rogan. Come on. Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come hang out with us tonight. I always ask this. I had the uh, different military people. I always like to ask, what is your favorite leadership book that you would recommend to a young corporal, specialist, sergeant, lieutenant? What would be your top book on leadership that you would offer them to read?
I'm not a huge reader, Colin Powell's book.
Haven't had that one yet.
Yeah.
All right, I like that. All right. Well, I have to pull his book up and read his book.
Right.
Leadership principles, getting passed down, paying it forward, taking care of all of our bubbas. It doesn't get much better than that, I'm telling you.
No.
Well, listen, if
being a leader is serving, not being served.
servant leadership,
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, if you hang on for 1 minute, I'm going to say goodbye and then wrap it up, and I'll get right back with you because I got something for you. All right.
Okay.
All right. Hold on 1 second, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that tonight. Listen, thanks you so much for hanging out with Tall Tales with Taco. It's just a hobby. It's fun, and I certainly do enjoy talking to all of our esteemed guests, and especially tonight. Greg really is the epitome of inspiration because what he and our thousands of wounded Marine soldiers, airmen, sailors have gone through, it's not easy, and there's not a easy fix for it. And as a matter of fact, sometimes the fix is too much for some, and they're not good with it, which we need to fix because if we break them and we send them in the service of the United States, then by God, we better take care of our people. And as I told my wife, why do I volunteer to help so much? Because I came home whole and lucky. Could have turned left instead of right and hit the ID. It's just one of those things. So until I see you next week's going to be exciting. If you like aviation, come join us because we're talking to the secret MiG pilots that flew operational MiGs against our guys. That was completely top secret. They were out of not Fallon. Um, they were out of Area 51. So it's going to be pretty exciting next week with Ted. Join us Taco Tuesday, 7 p.m. See you then. Adios, hasta luego. A Wiedersehen, tschüss, sheshini, au revoir, domarigato gozaimasu, tendo shinde kudasai, ciao, arrivederci, mahala, nastastroma, no, das vidania. Anyway, you guys take care and we'll see you next week. Hoorah. Semper Fi.